He spent nearly 45 years behind bars after he was accused of raping two white girls. He is now a free man. I am looking forward to talking to him. It's a powerful story. He was just released in February of 2022, 3 days before his 70th birthday. Mr. Vincent Simmons, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. Uh, Physically, I'm doing good. Mentally, it's complicated. After
Yeah,
being illegally in prison for 44 years, you know, it's hard to cope with the outside now. Because it's like a baby. You know, uh, Beginning to relearn everything. You know.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Listen, I always start here, Mr. Simmons. Tell me the young man that you were when you're arrested May of 1977. You're 24 years old. Just tell me the young man that you were before this arrest even happened.
Well, the young man that I was, you know, I was I was wild. I did some things that I'm not pleased about, but that's what all young people do. But I had a job. I was trying to help my mother, because I come from a big family of 13, so basically, the things that I did was minor, and the laws didn't like me because everything that happened, they thought it was Vincent Simmons. Vincent Simmons. So uh, that's when I was kidnapped on May 23rd, 1977, after leaving from my sister home, to go to work. And these two plainclothes police officers, Robert LeBoard and another officer, I can't remember his name right now, they kidnapped me and brought me to a police station and put me in handcuffs. They put me in handcuffs during the time of the arrest, but I was in that taken into a room, put in handcuffs, and from that, I was told that I was identified for raping these two white girls. So they took me in another room and attempt to force me to confess or sign a confession saying that I had committed a crime. And I said, no, I didn't rape anybody. So when I refused, they hit me and knocked me to the floor with handcuffs on in the front of me. So I got up and I tried to fight him and tried to grab him, and he shot me. Boom. And when he shot me, I hit the floor and I died. I went through this dark tunnel.
Weapon? He shot you with the gun?
Yeah, he shot me with a gun, and I died at that time. And I went through this tunnel and went to this light, and this light pulled me into it. And it was a lot of people welcoming me. That's how I know I was dead. I was somewhere else. And when I woke up, I was laying in the hospital. My mama was sitting next door, and they had a Catholic priest there. And then they took me from there. They found out I was conscious. They took me just as I was with the tools and everything in my body and transported me to the jail. And the only thing I remember is that they were taking me to trial. Boom. And I didn't understand really nothing because I was in pain. When I went to trial, I had all the tools and the bullet in my body.
Where,
You know,
where were you shot, Mr. Simmons? Where were you shot?
I was shot 3 inches over my heart.
Wow. So I just want to give people some context if you're listening to Vincent Simmons for the first time. I want to give people a context of what happens. So on May 9th, 1977, these two girls, they were 14 years old, they're twins. They're in a car with their cousin. They go to a gas station. They allege they go to a gas station and they say they pick up some random black man that wants to go to a party. Now, for me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Whatever. They pick up some random black man that wants to go to a party. and they drive the random black man to a party. They claim the random black man has a gun, makes them pull over, and locks up the cousin, the older cousin, who's a guy, in the trunk, and then rapes the two 14-year-old twins. All right. So they eventually go to this happens in Louisiana. They go to the police and they say what happened. And there's some odd things that happen there. They say they don't know the person's name. And they also said that all black people, quote, looked alike to her. So they thought that all black folks looked alike. One of the twins said that she was a virgin and that she had bled after the attack. There's no physical evidence reportedly that this attack ever took place. A relative would later say they made it up, saying a black man assaulted them. They described the person who committed the assault as a husky man with maroon pants and a black hat that asked for a ride to the party. Again, they said black folks looked alike. They reportedly used the N-word. Make a long story short, you're walking down the street, police arrest you. Nowhere near the location. You've never met these twins. You don't know who they are. You've never heard of this. You don't know anything about it. Then there's this photo lineup. And in the photo lineup, you're the only person who has handcuffs on. And the twins and the cousin point you out as saying that's the person who committed this crime. And you are charged with you go to trial, a predominantly white jury, and so on. And this is basically how all this happens. And there is no evidence is given to your legal team. Evidence is suppressed. You would go on later to find evidence on your own. Again, there's no physical evidence of this crime. And you say you've never met these people. I don't want to say their names, but so on. So I just want to give people some context. So when you're at the trial, Mr. Simmons, what are you thinking as this trial is going on and you're hearing, and this is 1977, I believe there was 11 white people on the jury, 1 black woman, and the only evidence, it's these 3 people. And a little bit more context, reportedly, not to be graphic here, the cousin and one of the 14-year-old girls, they had sexual relations years before. Just a little bit of context there. So what are you thinking, Mr. Simmons, as you're in this trial and they are saying that you're guilty? What's going through your mind, your soul as a 24, 25-year-old man?
Well, the only thing I was doing at the time is calling Yahweh. Yahweh is the proper name for God. I was calling on him for his protection. Way back then, I was calling on him for his protection, and he was there for me, and he carried me when I couldn't carry myself. He carried me through all this, the pain, the suffering, the unimaginable people throwing human shit on you, burning you, all this that I had to go through in the prison for 44 years, asking the court repeatedly to hear the case, and they wouldn't hear the case. Other people was asking for the same thing. Hear my case. They had all kind of hidden evidence, all kind of conflict, all kind of conspiracy going on. Hear my case, hear my voice. In the court system, it was a racist thing. They knew those girls was lying. They knew they were lying. That's why they didn't want to hear the case. Then the case became public, where people went to looking at it and saying, hold up. You mean to tell me all blacks look alike and this a man in jail? What kind of identification is that? And then the man was shot and attempted murder on his life, and he survived, and they still punish him with 100 years on basis of what? Racism, because you didn't have no evidence. The girls was smoking drugs. They was having sex with another guy, but they didn't want to bring that out to the jury. Why? Because it would expose the truth that they were lying. They know Keaton Board was raping those girls and his daughter. They knew because Keaton Board, the police that shot me, he's a Laborde. So he was covering up for his family, knowing that they had this rapist in the family. Somebody raping his own daughter, his own cousins, and somebody else doing the time for it. An innocent man in prison.
The person that you mentioned, Mr. Labo, I could be saying his name wrong. He is the cousin, the older cousin that I mentioned in the story, and he is on audio with CBS News calling you the N-word. He's on audio calling you the N-word. Your original sentence is 50 years on each count, a total sentence of 100 years at hard labor. And you were in Angola, correct? In Louisiana, one of the worst country?
Yes.
44 years. How are you getting by the day-to-day, surviving 44 years?
Well, I had to do what I had to do to protect myself, because that's one of the bloodiest prisons in the world, Angola. And I had to do everything that I did. I did it to protect myself and to try to not kill another man while I was there. That's what I had to do. And I went through all kind of torture, shit throwing. You get thrown shit in your face. You get acid thrown in your face. You get jugged up. You get in fights, and the free folks, they know you're innocent, but they still treat you like you ain't nothing. Not just me. They got other people in there that they don't even care about. You ought to go and take a look into the Angola prison. The family members, the law enforcement ought to come to Angola and go through Camp D, the place where we live, where you ain't got nothing, no windows, you ain't got no curtains. The shit is all leaking. Everything broke. The system is broke.
How was your family affected by this? How was your mother impacted by this?
Man, my mother died trying to help me. Sister died trying to help me. Brothers died trying to help me. I have about 7 sisters left, but all of my brothers, my mama, my dad, everybody died. And they wouldn't allow me to come 30 miles to visit my people, to say goodbye. They wouldn't do that. Those people was cold-blooded, man, and they still are.
I do want to add that in February, like I said, you were released, and the judge said that you were owed a new trial. The judge ruled that you had an unfair trial back in the 1970s, obviously. But sadly, and this is, you had an amazing legal team that worked with you, but you had been working on this case. I think that was your 17th time, but before the court. Is that accurate?
Exactly.
So you had been working on this case by yourself for decades and decades, lawyers coming in and out.
Yes.
But you aren't exactly exonerated. Therefore, you cannot get any compensation for Louisiana locking you up for nearly 45 years. So what are your next steps, Mr. Simmons? Are you going to get the official exoneration, or do you just want to leave it alone and move on?
Yeah, well, my attorney is seeking exoneration through a lawsuit, so I'm not going to speak on what it is that they filed, but they are seeking compensation, and on the exoneration, The judge ruled that I was denied a fair trial.
I want to add the one black person on the jury. She said in an affidavit that she felt, quote, very intimidated and helpless, so I voted guilty, unquote, because she felt pressured as a black woman in the 1970s, and she's the only black person on this jury to say guilty when, according to her, she was helpless. I do have to ask you, these two girls who are now women, they've been all over the news saying that you're guilty still. How does that make you feel?
I don't feel anything because I know the truth. I know the truth, and the people know the truth. So I don't feel anything they've been lying for 44 years. And you going against medical and everything. You're going against nature. You're going against nature. You said that I raped you, that you bled. That's what you told the jury. You swore that under oath. And the district attorney got medical record that show she was lying. She was a virgin, never been touched. So how should I feel? They all been lying and lying and lying, but I forgive them. You know why? Because they were used. And those are the people that should be suffered, that should be punished. The one that uses innocent people, punish innocent people, and use other people to get the convictions. That's not what justice is.
Well, I want to say that there is a GoFundMe page for you. We're going to post the GoFundMe. I'll post the GoFundMe page if folks would like to donate. Of course, this is expensive, and so on. There's also an Amazon wish list as well. We'll post that as well. Trying to fight this legal system costs money. So I know it's tough times out there, but if you can, feel free to donate to Vincent Simmons' GoFundMe page. Mr. Simmons, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's so important. It's just, it's horrific what happened. And sadly, I've covered so many of these stories where black men were accused of assaulting white women. I've covered too many of these on my Exonerated series. So it's horrific. And I want to say thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I want to say to the brothers that I left behind, I haven't forgotten you, and I will not forget you, brothers or sisters. I am fighting for you. Yahweh. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. You have a good day. You be safe, okay?
Okay, thank you.